First Timothy 5:18. For the scripture says, "You must not muzzle an ox to keep it from eating as it treads out the grain." And in another place, those who work deserve their pay. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Maya Moments. This week is about Business 101. I've been wanting to do a podcast like this for a really long time, and I have a special guest here, none other than Travis.
Hey,
Go ahead and introduce yourself, Travis.
Hey everybody, this is Travis James. I am the CEO of Culture Villains LLC. We are an independent record label here to utilize our skills as artists, producers, and things of that nature to push forward our faith and impact our communities.
Cam is a part of CB, and Travis is amazing. So I wanted to have him come on here because we have like talks about business like randomly all the time. And when it comes to some personal things that I'll be announcing today on the podcast, I just thought it was necessary to have him on because I respect his business ethics, and I just love just talking to Travis about business, to be honest. I'm sure he's going to drop some valuable gems in this one. So yeah, we're going to get straight into it. Before I do anything, let me go ahead and make a quick announcement. So basically, I opened my first business. Kind of crazy. Thank you. I 360 Virtual Tours is my business. That is my baby. I've been working on it for so long. It feels like now it's been a couple months. And September 15th is the official launch of our services. We have a big ol' grand opening promo, 25% off all services when you book with us from September 15th to October 15th. And so, yeah, it's just a time to be alive. What we offer are services. We do 3D scans of commercial and residential real estate and provide a virtual tour to you. So you book us, we come to the property, we scan it, do the 3D scan, then we go edit, put it together, and give you something that you can market with in whatever market you're in. So yeah, there's that. There's the little gem. Boo-boo. I'm so excited about that. But let's just dive right into like some different things that it comes to business. And honestly, I named this episode Just Do It, like my first episode of this podcast, because I feel like that's what a lot of hindrance comes in business, is just getting it off the ground, especially from an entrepreneurial state. So Travis, where would you say you should start when it comes to having a vision for a business? Like, what's the first step that you would tell someone to go with?
I think the first step is to be honest with yourself. I think a lot of people enter entrepreneurship and they have characteristics that don't lend to it.
That's good, yeah.
Procrastination, laziness. And a lot of people don't understand that there's an emotional toll that comes with being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So you have to be prepared with that and be honest with yourself. But I think it starts with surveying the market, seeing what's out there, seeing what's missing, and seeing if there's a need that matches up with your passion.
Absolutely.
So you yourself, you're passionate about real estate.
Yeah.
You saw there was a need for virtual tours and you started a business. That's amazing.
Yeah.
For myself with Culture Villains, I saw there was a big gap in Christian music of people who didn't necessarily fit the prototypical Christian mold, you know? And there was music that didn't represent people of color.
Yeah.
So what we were bringing to the market was something that was different. Like, there's nobody that sounds like us, looks like us, or moves how we move in the Christian music world. So we were able to fill a need that was just lacking in the industry. So I think that's a big thing right there. You have to see where you can fit in, where there's a lane for you, because there are a bunch of lanes in businesses. Businesses are being invented every day, new businesses that were never thought of. Yeah. And that's something that you have to identify.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Before I even started my business, the first step was a market analysis. I paid someone to do a market analysis of what will this look like, not just even now or before, but what will this look like in the next 20 years? Like, what is this market going to look like? Is there a demand for what I'm giving? And from that, I was able to say, okay, these are the goals that we have for the business financially for the next 5 to 10 years. And so I think that's a real good sound advice. Like, you have to know, your market. You have to understand what you're going into. Like, you can't just give people anything and expect them to buy into it and believe what you're saying is going to actually add value to their life. And I think that's why the first thing I would suggest is, depending on the whatever you're bringing, you have to ask yourself, what problem am I solving? And I think that goes hand in hand with market analysis as well, because you have to be, if you want to be profitable, you want to have your clients seeking you and not vice versa all the time. So I think just ask yourself, am I solving a problem? And if I am, what problem am I solving? Because that makes a difference. And just like, if you're solving a problem, whoever created socks, for instance, you always need socks. There's always going to be a demand for socks. You're never not going to need socks. So at the end of the day, they're always going to be in business. Something to the same effect with, like, even Travis, his isn't necessarily a consumer, like, you're buying goods, even though go to coachvillains.com and get you a t-shirt. But yeah, you're not always selling, necessarily goods. You might be a concert or, a different project or different things, but is he solving a problem? Yes. In his industry, he has solved the problem he's allowing voices that had been silenced or not heightened to be allowed a platform to speak now. And so you just have to ask yourself that. And I think usually when that happens, you see yourself being more profitable. Not saying that if you're not solving a problem, you can't be profitable, but I think that's when, as an entrepreneur, you're giving yourself the best bet on being profitable, because it takes a lot of money to start. It takes money to make money. And, to start a business is cool and fun. And a lot of success stories have started with, oh, I had nothing. I just had what I had and I just went for it. And here I am now. And that's amazing. But I feel those stories are so far few in between. Give yourself the best, bet of being a business that doesn't just start, but has longevity, will be something that's profitable and not only help you, but help others. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think people have to trust the process. Like, I think the average business, it takes 3 to 5 years to start really making profit. And a lot of people don't buy into that. I think that's why a lot of people go through the whole mid-level marketing thing and the pyramid schemes, because it sounds good. Like, you see these people, it seems like they're having a great time on vacation, they're saying they're making $6,000 to $10,000 a month. And all you have to do is invest $100. That doesn't even sound right to me. $100 is going to make me $1 million. No.
Yeah, no.
It takes strategy. And one thing that people forget, like, after you figure out what you're solving for, you have to brand yourself. You have to be able to stand out. I think one thing that separates us is our brand surrounds the word villain. And it's one thing that keeps us it gives us recognition and it makes us unique. So, like, anytime we're like, wear a shirt, when I go through any type of checkpoint security, they're like, hey, villain, what's that? It's like, why are you a villain? Especially when I go through airports. And it just starts a conversation about, like, the music, the clothes, everything. But we just have this recognizable logo. Our whole brand surrounds being rugged and imperfect and things of that nature. So it's identifiable. Like, so many people remember Culture Villains, which has actually been a gift and a curse, because sometimes they recognize Culture Villains before they recognize my individual artists. But it's something that helps us stand out.
A group.
Yeah. I was actually talking with my mom's boyfriend. He was trying to start his contracting business because he kind of did it. He kind of did it, but he didn't, like, establish it as a business. He didn't have the business licenses or anything like that.
Yeah.
And he was telling me he just wanted to brand himself and get things rolling, but he didn't want to spend more than $200. And I said, hey, you don't want to make money. I was like, because you need a website, you need business cards, you need a logo. We need to establish what's going to separate you from the thousands of contractors going around here fixing houses and things like that. So that's one thing people have to understand. If nobody remembers you, you're not going to get clients. You have to be able to stand out among a crowded field. A lot of people recognize that they want to not work for somebody else. But what's going to separate you from them? How can you stand out?
And that's good because even my dad, he's an entrepreneur. He's been one all my life, honestly speaking. But he's been a pastor, so he's done it more in the ministry realm than anything. But he's on sabbatical now, so he's doing it for personal reasons. And a lot of the stuff that he tells me, like when we were gearing up just for opening, is like first impression, lasting impression. Make sure that when people see you, when they are coming in contact with you, that you make an impression of your business that's lasting, because I'm always going to go to the first person or the first contact that I think of for a service. That's okay, who do I think of for this service? Oh, that person, I'm always going to go to them first. And so just making a lasting impression, making sure your branding, it doesn't have to be crazy, but making sure it's intentional is better than having absolutely nothing. And then also diversifying yourself. Like, honestly speaking, you have different streams of advertising that you can do for marketing. And like this podcast is a great marketing tool for my business, just to be able, it's reaching a totally different audience than say my Google ads or my Facebook ads or the things that I will post in the community. Or think you have to really diversify yourself and know that there are means of free things that you can do as well. Like I'm in Facebook groups for real estate, and I'm just going to pop in there and say, hey, I have a business, and let them know. And that's free. Like I didn't have to do anything with that, but also be intentional about your marketing that's paid too. And so you're making the most bang for your buck, if you will, and you're getting leads that are going to actually have a good ROI. But yeah, I think you just have to know your branding speaks volume, and like own that, this is my brand, this is what I'm doing. And especially if you're going into entrepreneurship, you want to be passionate about whatever you're going into, because there's going to be days that you're like, why am I doing this anyway? And it's only your love for it or the service or whatever your mission is with that keeps you and sustains you doing it. So yeah. Moving on to the next question. I just thought it was imperative to also talk about what the Bible says about just different things when it comes to business. The Bible, is very specific about things. It doesn't specifically say anything about, don't be rich, don't be poor, but it does have ethics when it comes to, just being responsible over whatever God has allowed you to have or has given you means and room to store it over. And so one of my favorite stories in Matthew, it just is like the man who gave his servants the talents, and he told each of them to do whatever they wanted to do with their talents, and he left. And if I remember correctly, like one of them, he buried it, and the other two, the other two were able to get interest on that investment, basically. And so when the man came back to the servants and he saw the people that, they had getting interest on their things, he was like, well, that's pretty good. And when he saw the person that had buried their talent, he asked, why did you bury it? And they was like, I just wanted to make sure that I didn't lose it. Like, I just wanted to make sure that it was safe in that place. And he was reprimanded by the man, just saying like, you didn't do anything with it. You didn't store it. You weren't responsible. You didn't take any risk. At least if you would have lost it, it would have been because you took a risk, but you did nothing with it. You have to have the mindset that with money, and I'm like this too. I like my savings to continue to save. Okay. Yeah. I don't really like spending money, but you have to have the mindset in business that dollars are circulating. There has to be circulation. You have to have income and cash flow. That's wealth. Like you have to have that cash flow coming in, and you can't just hoard. and think, okay, I'm good, I'm safe because I'm hoarding. It's not going to do you any profitability in business. But you can't have a mindset with money, especially in entrepreneurship, that like, I'm just hoarding all the money. Like, it's just not going to work. And that's just not how business is done in general speaking. McDonald's is not hoarding their money. They're going and putting it in real estate. So you got to look at where does the money spent to make me more money? Because honestly speaking, money works for you when you know how to work it. And we live in a capitalistic society here in America, and whether you like that or not, it's the society that we live in. And so if you're trying to have a more profitable life, you have to understand the rules of the system that you're in and try to make it work for you as you can while you being ethical to your values. So if that means you're going to, you know what, I want to have a charity and I give all my money to this charity or this cause every month because I'm making what I need. I don't need anything. Do that. But make sure that you're not hoarding money just for the sake of doing so. Yeah.
I totally agree. So I have a funny story, which is not totally business related, but it's about the taking risks.
Yeah.
So I got into investing, right? And I was doing pretty good, but then I had like a bad day. So I got really nervous because I was taking risks initially with a significant amount of money. So there was this one day where I think I had $200 that I was investing into this one stock. The stock boomed. Like I was just taking a hint on that this stock may boom. It boomed. And then it started coming down. So I cashed out. I was like, I'm gonna make this quick $300 and I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was scared.
Yeah,
I would have stayed.
Out.
If I would have stayed on,
I
would have made $1,800 more in one day.
Oh my God.
I put in 200. I made 300. That's 500. Adding 1,800. I'm walking out with 2,300 at the end of the day. If I would have not been scared, and that can carry over into business because like if you don't take certain risks, you're gonna miss out on huge windows of opportunity. Huge. Like imagine if Jeff Bezos didn't take risk into getting into the cloud market.
Yeah.
And now AWS with Amazon, that's their cloud market. Amazon basically has the cloud and the storage for half of the internet. If that goes down,
really?
You don't get Netflix, you don't get Spotify, you don't get it went down 2 years ago. It went down 2 years ago and people couldn't watch Netflix for a couple hours. Like they service basically half the internet. That's
I didn't know that.
Amazon's money is really not in the packages. It's in the cloud. That's where half of the money is. So
that makes sense.
If he never took that risk on that, he's not a trillionaire. You know, they're not the biggest company in the world if he doesn't take that risk. So you have to take risk. And this is what Jeff Bezos preaches. Everybody doesn't like Jeff Bezos, but he's a brilliant risk taker. He preaches exactly what your title says. Just do it. You know, they call it a JDI. They preach at Amazon to take risks, to fail forward, because you shouldn't ever be scared of failure in business because something's going to fail. Mm-hmm. It's what you take from that and use that data, use the analytics, use whatever lessons you've learned to progress forward. Right. You know, I'll give you an example with our business. The first album we ever put out on Culture Villains was Big Ye, We Gon' Shine. That was the first album. Mm-hmm. So I wasted a lot of money on that album.
Not wasted.
Because it was because I was naive and, you know, I wanted to take shortcuts for it to be successful. So I wasted at least $4,000 on that album.
Dang.
Right? So I paid people for different services that I really didn't need and I could have done myself. So in essence, that was a failure because that was more than half of the budget that I allotted for the album. But what I did, I took and learned from that, didn't spend that money on our second EP, which was Josh's For Your Heart EP. And Josh's For Your Heart EP did better than We Gon' Shine. And I spent half of the money.
Whew.
So it was a more profitable project. So even though I failed by going over budget and and losing money and it going to the crapper, like I
You
was
didn't
able to
lose in
take
the
that lesson.
lesson.
Yeah, I was able to
Yeah,
learn that lesson and use it on the
yeah.
next project that did well.
And I like
So
that too, fail forward.
yeah,
Yeah,
always
listen.
fail forward.
Just you have to train yourself because it's not natural. You have to train yourself to just not be afraid of failure. Like, failure is okay. Failure is okay, especially in business. There's been no business that has not failed. And it's really about what have you learned and what are you going to apply after the failure to now help yourself not fail in that same way again. Like, there's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with failing as long as you don't make that same mistake twice. And
Yeah,
so just learn from it, move on from it, and really take that analysis, because that gives you room for analysis and figuring out, okay, this is where, this is where this needs to go, and this is how this needs to go now. And so just learn from it. Like, it'll really help. Honestly speaking, especially starting out, you have no room for analysis of like what is going to absolutely plummet, what's going to be so great. So just don't even sweat the small stuff. Really allow it to roll off your back. Okay, all right, I know I don't like it, but it is what it is. Now, what's the best solution to this?
yeah,
And that's really a mindset that you have to train yourself to have. Some people it's more natural than others because honestly speaking, everyone's not meant to run a business. Everyone's not
exactly.
meant for that. Some people are meant to like, I like to just come in, do my job, leave and get a check. And that's great. Like that's absolutely great. But other people, I think there's a certain mindset of like some people, they literally just cannot stand working for somebody else. Like they just can't, like every time they clock into work, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't do
Dreading it.
this. Dreading it. And those are the type of people that entrepreneurship is, it doesn't mean that they're going to be better at it. It just means like they're more inclined for it because they already have that natural inclination to want to do it. But yeah, basically speaking, there's some other scriptures. I'm just gonna put scriptures in there that you can look at. First Timothy 5:18 and Hebrews 13:5, plus the scripture that we had beginning this episode. But most of those are just gonna talk about stewarding your money correctly, and just being we're blessed to be a blessing. So I'm never hoarding my wealth. Like, I'm not trying to be like on an island by myself and looking at everybody else like you guys were brokies. Like that's never the case. I'm never trying to hoard this amount of stuff. I always argue with my dad and my mom about this. It's different generations. I think different generations, you have different mindsets of money and just business in general. But I'm just always looking like there's no reason anyone should be a billionaire. Like there's just no reason. Like even if you have the means to, and I'm not talking about net worth, but I'm just talking about in general, there's no reason to be a billionaire. It's just not. And they're like, well, if you work for it, that's what you, I'm like, no, you cannot. We
Gotta
know,
give it.
right. I'm like, you understand that you don't work for $1 billion. Nobody's working for $1 billion. They've done not physical labor, but they've worked in the mechanicals of business to be able to allocate $1 billion. So with that being said, if you can allocate $1 billion, you can allocate two, and you don't need that much wealth. But that's a
Right.
different discussion for a different day. But moving on, personally, how do you feel about friends in business or like working with friends in business? And what are your personal experience with it? And then I guess a follow-up question would be like, has someone personally close to you become an issue in a business relationship because of your personal relationship with them?
Um, going into business with your friends or doing business with your friends, it's kind of
Tricky.
like being roommates with your friends.
Yes.
It sounds good in theory. It should
Yeah.
work,
It
but
should.
it should. But I personally experienced, and I've seen others experience big fallouts that has
Mm,
damaged their friendships, because it takes maturity, right? It takes the ability to set boundaries
yeah.
and separate the personal from the business.
Right.
Um, I personally went through a situation where I was managing an R&B singer in Charlotte years ago, and this girl was my best friend. She actually used to be engaged with one of my cousins a long time ago,
Wow.
and she asked me to manage her. and we
Mhm.
were navigating the Charlotte music scene. And this was my first actual experience as a manager. And
Mhm.
things were going good. We were recording a lot of music. We actually had a meeting with Universal Records lined up.
Wow.
Yeah. It was
Wow.
for a development contract. So basically, they were going to just pay her a certain amount of money just to record music. And if something popped, they had her rights. So that's basically what it was.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
we had that meeting lined up. But um, what we never separated the business from the personal. Everything just
Mhm.
tied in together. So there were a lot of like emotional arguments and
Ah.
feelings and things like that. So it got to the point where everything hit the fan and we're no longer friends at all. Like I don't talk
Ah,
to her, she doesn't talk to
dang.
me, and everything hit 3 days before we were supposed to have that meeting with Universal.
No. So you didn't even get to the meeting.
No, like she's not even really doing music at that level anymore.
Wow.
I think she's a waitress now. I've moved on. So we
Yeah.
never had those boundaries, and those were what were needed in order for us to maintain not only our friendship but that business relationship. Because, like I said, everything would
Absolutely.
just always get really messy. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna go into business with your friends, like set those boundaries. Make sure you
Absolutely.
all have a great understanding of the role, the money, because money can definitely mess up things because if someone
Yes.
is not making what they're worth or you don't agree with how money is being spent, like
Mhm.
you have to set those things and
It could
it
go
just
south fast.
yeah, it just
Mhm.
takes maturity and respect too. So
Yeah. And
um
I think it's just I think communication of just like being very to the point and not beating around the bush is what helps a lot. And also knowing that people have a difference in what they do with money. So I think there's even like, how there's love languages, I think there's money languages. Some people you just not compatible to working in business together because you have a totally different mindset when it comes to money than someone else. And it's just great to find out those things before. And that goes for business relationships, personal relationships, hell, even marriage, if I'm being honest. Like you should know whoever you're working with when it comes to money, what you guys are compatible in working with and how you fundamentally understand money because it can bring a lot of tension and distress that could be avoided if you just know, okay, this is what I'm not going to do. This is what I am going to do with this particular person. I've seen the messiness of being in business with friends. It's just not cute or whatever. And I've
mhm.
also seen, even when it comes to the client, like you knowing a friend as a service or is as doing something and people want to do friends with business. And I'm totally against that. I feel like if you can't afford somebody's services or you can't do it at the full price, like of course people love to bless their friends, especially when you're in business. There's nothing wrong with that. Of course not. But if you're seeking out your friend for services or things of that nature, a lot pay them what they're worth. Like don't look for friends them to do friends with you, but business when you're doing stuff with them. I'm a very like straightforward person. So especially about money, I'm like very like, okay, no, this is not gonna happen because I know myself. I'm not gonna allow myself to put myself in a place where I did a favor for somebody and now I don't like them and I'm mad about it. And now there's like beef. And I don't even want to talk about it. I'm not even going to put us in that position
Mhm.
because I know myself. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just not going to do it. And because I love you and I want to continue to love you, and we can go to see, let's just do that because I'd rather not have to
Yeah.
cuss you out in Jesus' name because you didn't do what I expected or something of that nature.
Mm.
Um, for you, Travis, what has being in business revealed to you about your own self? Because I know it's been CV and
Mhm.
even just other business ventures for you. I'm sure you've learned a lot about yourself in the process.
Yeah. I'm gonna start with the negative. Um,
Okay.
the number one thing, well, no, that's not the number one thing, but a big thing I've learned was that I was a terrible leader. Terrible.
Mm.
I was great at managing
Yikes.
things. I was great at giving commands and strategy, but I was a terrible leader. Um, I was always barking at people. I didn't lead by example. Sometimes I
Mhm.
would get so caught up in the vision that I forget about the humans
Mm.
and treating, people that were working with me and for me as humans. But that's something that I've really been able to work on. And I was actually telling somebody last night, like, I feel like I've become a better leader this year than I've ever been. Because I never felt that I was developing people, caring about people, and leading them to where they want to get in life. I was always just barking at people to get them to complete my vision. But now I
Mm.
feel like I'm developing and serving people to not only help my vision, but to get them to where they want to go.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. The other thing is that I suffered from imposter syndrome. That
Mm.
was one thing that really got exposed. So if you don't know what imposter syndrome is, it's like a psychological pattern where you doubt your accomplishments and you have this internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud.
Ooh, okay, I think I suffer from imposter syndrome. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it
Ooh.
was like, I was overwhelmed with these feelings of self-doubt, fear of success, fear of failure. And it led to like a real low self-confidence and being overly humble. So there was
Yeah.
like this just fear of being exposed like as a fraud. So I'll say this, like there were instances where I would be in big rooms with important people in our industry and just in business period, and I would shrink myself because I
Mm.
didn't think I belonged there
That's
and
good.
that I
Yeah.
really didn't know what I was talking about and things like that. And I think this year I really overcame it because I was put in situations with people who have had massive amounts of success.
Mhm.
And now I look at them like, you're no better than me. You've
Yeah.
been there already. You just have experience. You've just been there. But I offer something that you can't. I'm
Right.
able to do things that you can't, and I'm innovative and I can do this and that. But before I would just shrink myself. So
Yeah.
that exposed that. But also on a positive note, what business has revealed to me is that I'm stronger than I ever thought I would be, and
Mm.
I can handle more than I ever thought I could handle. Because one thing that I learned over the course of entrepreneurship is that there are a lot of people who enter severe bouts of depression trying to start a business.
Yeah.
My friend shared with me that I want to say 13% of entrepreneurs who start up a business have either attempted or committed suicide.
Really?
Yes. And I think it was 30% suffer from depression. So when you think of that, like this, being an entrepreneur is not for the faint. There's a lot that goes into it. Yes, there's glitz and glamours, there's Instagram posts, and everything looks great. It looks like this extravagant thing and living life and living your best life. But there's a lot of hard work, there's sleepless nights, there's impact to your emotional and mental health. So you have to consider that when going into business. But I've learned that not only am I able to do this, but I'm going to go cliche. God will never put more on me than I can bear.
Yeah. 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 And that's just the truth of the matter, you know? Um, yeah, I think oh, that just crushes me. I can't believe that you were shrinking yourself. Like, do you even know who you are? Like, what? What are you
Yeah.
talking about? Like, guys, this is Travis James. Like, I'm being serious. I feel like even now you don't do it probably as much, but you're a very humble person. I feel like in general, maybe that has to do with your imposter syndrome or whatever. But I feel like just in general, you don't like to be necessarily seen like visibly, but you like your accomplishments to speak for themselves. You don't need to like egg them on or do anything crazy with them, but they'll speak for themselves and let them speak for themselves. I don't need to speak for them, if that makes sense. And I mean, that's great. But at the same time, like, guys, Travis is dynamic. He's really helped so many people, so many industries, including me. And he's just someone that's so wise and has always been, if he likes you, if he likes you, he's someone that is just so affable. He really just likes giving so many seeds. I know so many people that are like, oh yeah, like Travis helped me in this way, or he helped me see this within myself, or he's connected me to this person or that person. And so honestly speaking, to have someone, like, a lot of people don't have quote unquote Travises in their life. Like, relationships matter. I wasn't even going to go into this, but I think it's really important to say, like, in business, relationships matter. And not every person that you work with is going to be your best friend. But just in general speaking, you need contacts, you need networking, and sometimes you'll stumble upon, it's rare, but sometimes you'll stumble upon a Travis. And Travis might not hit you up every day. He's not maybe your best friend, but you know, whenever you speak, it's going to be something that's memorable and they're lasting moments. And so just like, I can't believe you were shrinking yourself. This is baffling me. Like, what the heck?
Nobody knows this stuff. This is like the exclusive breaking news. Like,
I love it. Yes, right on my moments, guys. See, we getting exclusives now. Like, what? But yeah, I think what I've learned about myself is I keep myself busy. Like, I really do. I keep myself busy. To think, as a senior in college, and I'm taking 18 credits right now. Like, I'm a theater major, if you're not aware. So I'm in a show right now. Like, my shows, I have rehearsal not tonight, but like tomorrow. Like, I'm in so many things, just personally, socially, like, even much so on a personal level. I'm in a long-term relationship. Like, that's work in itself. Not to say that it's bad work or it's exhausting, but it's work. Like, you have to take time to actually dedicate time to your relationship. And then on top of that, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna open a business. Like,
boss
that.
move.
It's just, oh, thank you. And it's just, I keep myself busy. And so something that my father has been really like, it's been pulling teeth. If you guys will meet my dad on a different podcast a different day, but my dad, we fight. Like, we go at it. Like, not even joking, like, not no passive, like, oh no, like, my dad has always given me a voice. And so now that I'm grown now that I'm older, we go at it. Like, I'm like, no, I don't really believe that. And he's like, well, I don't really care what you believe. Like, I know what I'm talking about. I have the experience. Do you have the experience? Like, no, I don't have the experience, but I know what I'm talking about because I've done it. And we go at it. And so it's not disrespectful in that sense. Like, I don't reverence his wisdom, but at the same time, you know, when you smell yourself or whatever, you get a little like, no, what you talking about? So I think I've learned that I can become like dismissive of wisdom from other people because I think I know it all at some points. And that goes into personal as well. Like, I feel like I have a lot of wisdom in certain areas just because of life, but that shouldn't turn you off from being able to listen to what people have to bring to the table, especially if they have more knowledge in a different industry or whatever to you. And then third of all, I think I like to do it myself. That is not good, guys, because when you're, especially as someone who's like, you're adding CEO to your name, CEOs don't do the work, they manage. Yep. And you have to get in the mindset, for me, of managing. And I'm thinking like, okay, yes, I'm going to do it on the next project is when I'm going to allow somebody else to do it. I don't want to, this time I want to do it because I know that what I can bring to it and the level of, you know, meticulous things that are going to be to detail the way that I need it to be for it. And you can't sweat the small stuff if like it's really not life or death. You can't do that. But also I think I've learned that I'm someone that's a really, really detailed, organized person. Like I don't give myself enough credit for being as organized as I am. But if you guys understood how much paperwork, how much money, how many things I had to research in this time, like my business is an LLC, so I had so much paperwork to go through. And then I'm not only LLC, but I'm registered as an LLC in Virginia, so I had to do more paperwork. And as someone who's never done this personally for me, like I've done it for other businesses, but not for myself. Like putting your name on that docket is different than putting someone else's name on that docket. And it was very scary to be like, okay, this is what I'm responsible for. This is my business. Like no one else's name matters here. And so I think, I just don't give myself enough credit for being as organized, as driven as I can be when I'm passionate about something. And I saw a different mode in myself that I'm glad that I'm able to now like grow in and flourish in. Because I love business, if I'm being honest. Like I've always been a business driven person. That's why most people that know me, if they don't know my major, they think I'm a business major. Do you know how many people
I can see that. You have the mind.
Business major? Oh, yeah. People are like, you're not a business major? I'm like, no, I'm a theater major. They're like, wait, you're creative? Like, yeah, I can be. I can be creative. But I guess I'm just so structured in the way that I do things. People just automatically think you're a business major. No, I'm not. I feel like I didn't get a degree in that though, because I already have the mindset for it. I don't need to necessarily get a degree for that. You just got to know what you're naturally good at. I needed to go to school for acting because I needed to grow in acting. Like I needed to fail in a space and make those mistakes on stage in a protective space that allowed me to do that creatively. I didn't necessarily need that business wise, because if I fell in this business, guys, I'm being honest, if I fell in this business, I'm not going to shed tears about it. It'll be a learning experience that I'll just apply to the next business that I have. And so, yeah, I think that's the other thing. I feel like I'm like courageous now all of a sudden. Like, it's like, oh, you bold. I'm like, yeah, I mean, there's not, what am I going to lose, honestly speaking? Like, I really can only gain from this experience at 21 opening my own business. Like, there's not really much I can lose. So, yeah, I think that was a long diatribe, but I've learned a lot about myself in this small time. And of course, I'll continue to learn. Travis, what advice would you give to yourself now if you could give advice to your younger self when you first went into business?
I would say don't shortcut the process. There's so many tempting things that'll come your way that'll make you want to shortcut the grind, the long process that it takes to become profitable, to become successful. And I was presented with so many opportunities. I was presented with a distribution deal with the company that was under Roc Nation. And we took that. Worst experience ever. They messed up release dates.
I remember
we're still fighting for money for one of my artist songs.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Jesus.
Your man's song.
Well, of course.
So we're fighting for that money.
Wow.
We've been offered distribution deals where they wanted 50%. And what they were offering, what they were offering would have been very beneficial to increasing our exposure. But I'm not giving up 50%.
Right.
So we're in a position now where, and this hasn't been announced, but My Moment's exclusive. Like we're currently in a distribution deal where we're getting marketing and different things like that. But I'll be honest, we're not going to stay here. We're not going to stay here. I kind of tell my team that we're here in this deal as an internship to learn, get the relationship, get the plugs, get the knowledge, and then we're out. Because instead of shortcutting the process, because I'm in the music industry, a lot of people will shortcut the process of building a fan base and take a terrible deal, be locked in. Somebody else owns your masters. Somebody else owns you. What
Yeah,
we've been what I've
essentially.
yeah, what I've been able to build is something that is something we control. It represents us. We've never had to compromise because we built it from
Mhm,
the ground up. And
mhm.
it may make it a longer process for us, but it's
In the
going to
end.
last longer because I've seen people come and go around us with their businesses, with artists trying to make it. So don't shortcut the process. It's okay if it's slow. It's okay if progress is slow because in the long run, you'll build something sustaining. Because if a house
Right.
is built in 10 hours, will it actually be good quality?
No,
No.
it might get you through the night, though. It'll get you through the night,
It'll get
but
you
when
through
it
the night.
comes
Yeah.
a month later, it's falling apart. You gotta build again. And I like that too because I feel like, especially in the music industry, you see a lot of artists, they have to rebrand and rebuild within a short span of time. It's not like, 20 years later after you've had this crazy career and now you're rebranding. You're talking about matter of like one album to the next project. And
Mhm.
you're having to do a total rebrand because you may have lost your work with, masters and stuff like that, or just life in general. But that's what I admire about CV as well, is just like the relationship that you've made intentional about your fan base, your supporter base, and how you are very intentional about this is like a community wise, like it's very like CV is very like, if you're part of our supporters, it's like family. And I think, of course, that's not profitable. I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. I'm a marketer, guys. I love marketing so much. Oh my gosh, I love marketing. Like, I'm gonna get a degree in it. I'm very serious. I'm most likely gonna get my master's in digital media marketing. But it's not profitable for everybody for a consumer to want to be a part of a family, like when they don't know you, right? But as time goes on, it's going to be more profitable for the person who is marketing that, because once they buy into it, you kind of have them stuck forever. Like it's not very transactional. Like, this is my project, buy it, okay, we're done. It's very like, oh, this is someone that I love. Like, I know them. I feel like I know so much about them, and it's a stronger connection that you have. It's not profitable for everybody, but when you do it right, it can gain you so much. And so I just think that not short what how do you put it? Not shortchanging yourself in the process really like will propel you forward. Because quick money, I was talking to somebody else about this. Quick money is not like sustainable at all. You it's good, but it's not always sustainable for longevity purposes. And so like even like for example, like winning the lottery, like that's cool. And I was talking to somebody, and I think it was my dad, and I was like, "Do you get your lump sum? Like when you win this big old amount of money in the lottery, do you get that lump sum?" And he was like, "Well, you can get the lump sum, or you can have them send you a check every month until all the money's run out." And I was like, I would do that. Like, I would probably have them cut me a check every month for however amount until the money runs out, because that's cash flow. And then I'm able to leverage that for other things. But real wealth is cash flow. It's not really just having
Mhm.
one lump sum. Lump sum goes out like that.
Mhm.
Where's it coming back? No, it's not coming back.
Exactly.
It's gone. Have cash flow so that you can leverage it for other things. And I think just don't shortchange yourself. I like that.
Yeah. I have a
Well,
quick
I'm
story,
yeah, go ahead.
that goes with shortcutting the process. So I have a friend, and this is gonna go back to a podcast, we had not too long ago, with the Culture Villains podcast, plug. Um, so my friend was building an app, and this app was brilliant. It was basically Uber or Uber Eats, DoorDash, but for auto mechanics. So you would have
Ooh,
you could order an auto mechanic to come
that's
fix your
lit.
car, do an oil change. So it's a brilliant app, and they got partnerships with different auto mechanics, but they wanted exposure, and they wanted to kind of cut out a lot of the legwork. So they got with this couple who has been in the news for scamming people, and they gave them upwards of $6,000 to work on their app, to help with marketing and different things, and nothing happened. And they
Wait.
were out of $6,000 and have to redo their app.
I'm sorry, that's not funny. This is terrible. But when he said somebody, I already knew who he was talking about, y'all. That is insane.
Yeah.
That is insane.
And I told him, I was like, imagine if you were just patient and just kept plugging away yourself, you would have your money still.
Yeah.
And you would be in control of everything. Now it's like you have to redo everything again.
Oh my gosh. And that $6,000 that you can manage yourself that you gave to somebody else, it wouldn't have been bad if it would have worked out, but because it didn't work out.
Yeah.
First of all, that's another thing. If you're in business and you're claiming to you are marketing that you're a Christian business and you're out here scamming people, I'm not, because really that's fighting words.
Yeah.
That you're out here scamming people in the name of Jesus. What?
Right.
What? Are you serious? And honestly, and that's why even more so, the love of money is not money. It's the love of money is the root of all evil. For you to be doing that to say that you have ethics and morals and you're upstanding, you have these things, and you're out here scamming other people, that most of them are coming to you because they know you're a Christian. And they're coming to you because they're thinking they're getting something different from what other businesses have to offer, and you're intentionally preying on them. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. And that doesn't go unnoticed. That's despicable. But yeah, honestly speaking, that kind of business is sort of kind of a business model that, I'm adopting myself. I think they call it now a double marketplace.
Okay.
I had to, a lot of stuff is finding out the language, because what you're trying to conceptualize in your head, but you don't know like what is the name for this. It's a double marketplace because you're marketing not only for consumers but for clients, but you're also marketing for like people to get on your platform and utilize it. So you have to do double marketing for everything, which is hefty, very hefty. But when it works, it's much more profitable than, just having one side of the market. And that's so ingenious. Like, that's amazing. Like, I really pray that they're able to bounce back and do that, because we're praying for them, because that's sucky.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Because, they're good people, and I was actually going to invest in the business. So I had some money put to the side. But I'm a little hesitant now, but we're gonna continue to review things to see if it's gonna be an investment I take part in.
Yeah.
But you can't shortcut the process.
No, you can't. Oh, that's crushing. Okay, and just wrapping it up. I wasn't gonna answer that question, guys. What advice would you give to your younger self? Because I just started. So. What would I know? Honestly, the only advice I can give to anybody out there, and I'm happy, especially as being a Black woman, I feel like right now, especially with the climate we've had this whole year, I feel like the pandemic really exposed and helped our community in so many more ways than we could have ever imagined. And even though there's so much tragedy connected to it, there's so much beauty in it as well. And I've seen so many Black young people and just Black people in general opening up businesses and like just going for it, just doing it, if you will. And I'm happy about that, because I think people always were afraid to, because like, what if it doesn't work? But then when you get in the pandemic, it's like, what the heck do I have to lose? Right. At the end of the day, it is a lot of people were unemployed during this, or at least furloughed, which was basically unemployed. And so they had the means and the time to actually sit down and say, you know what, I had this vision for a long time, and go ahead and shoot for it and see what happens. And I'm proud about that. And even, going off topic, but even Black Lives Matter, the protests that are still going on to this day, I think a lot of the reason why people were able to show up was because a lot of people were unemployed, and they were able to go and be a part There's so many people that would love to do things, but they didn't have, I can't take off of work. I can't do that right now. Like I got bills to pay and stuff like that. Now it's like, I don't have a job right now, and I'm going to go out. I'm going to do it. And even if I do have a job, I'm going to make sure my voice is heard during this time. In the stay-at-home order for the people that had to stay at home with their jobs, they were able to still, go and show up like they wanted to. So I'm proud of that. I'm thankful for that. I think it's a time to really just do it, man. Like there's no better time, if not in a pandemic.
JDI, just do it.
Just do it, guys. Okay, what are some resources that you would recommend to anyone in business? And it could be to the music industry, or it could be, broad. It doesn't have to be.
If we're talking about business as a whole, there are tons of online communities for small businesses. And I'll give you a couple. Startup Nation. This was a community that was started by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. It's free to join. And it's one of the top communities for entrepreneurs, and it gives you everything you need from resources to articles and different things. You can network on there. Small Business Hub, that's a great place to go to meet other entrepreneurs.
I've heard about that one.
And I think Partner Up, which is it's a social network for small businesses. And then of course entrepreneur.com. That's like a one-stop shop for everything. If you're in the music industry, it's a website called Indiepreneur. They cover everything from contracts to royalties to digital marketing. Everything you can possibly want to know, they have it in there. So those are some great communities that you can reach out and learn a lot from.
That's amazing. And I have Travis. I'll put everything in the description of this so that you guys can just click links and everything. Some resources that I think are just very important to have going for anything. Make sure that you have, I'm going to plug QuickBooks. I love QuickBooks. I think QuickBooks is amazing. And I think especially with whatever you're doing, make sure you have receipts of everything. Be overemphasizing how money is allocating, how it's coming in, where it's going out to the cent. Because not only just for tax purposes, but you really just want to know where's your money going towards. And if you have no paper trail of that and you're just going off of like what you may think or know, it honestly is not helping you. So I think QuickBooks in general, you can do invoicing in there, you can do contractors in there. It helps you keep everything. You just put in, your given bank account, stuff like that, and then you can go straight from that. Also, I think another resources I would give, go into Facebook groups. Like, go into them, network into them, give them whatever amount of energy is allowed, because that's free marketing. And it's really easy to just think about the big stuff like, oh, I want to do Google. Oh, I want to do this. But really focus in on like the free things and know that it's like going to pay off in the long end. And what's another one? Oh, go to Google My Business. Like I was just saying, people look at the Google reviews before they do anything. Make sure whatever business you have is registered and verified on Google My Business so people are able to give you reviews. You can message with people. And I even think like for mine, I'm services, so I don't have a physical business location, but wherever your physical business, because you have to have a physical business location that you're at least registered in a state to have that at least on there. It doesn't show that one, but it'll show like this person is in the community. I've gotten so many leads just from people being able to register. When they put up something for my name, it comes up, and that's the best marketing too, is when it's organic. So I'm really like trying to help with like free stuff. Make sure that you're utilizing all the tools you have off bat that are free before you even have to get into anything else. And yeah, I think that's all for today. Thank you so much for coming, Travis. I just call you James. What the heck?
That's my middle name, so Oh, I shouldn't have said that. But no, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you so much, Travis. I really do.
I appreciate you too.
Okay, thank you guys for tuning into My Moments. I will see you in the next episode.